All right, guys, what's going on? So today we're going to be talking about why I think discipline is the real cheat code when it comes to managing your money, right? Now, discipline, when it comes to money, I think one of the biggest things that we're told as young people is that the only way for you to really get rich or like achieve some level of wealth in this world is if you like make a lot of money, go to college and get like an extremely good job, those types of things, right? But they don't ever really tell you the side of money that comes with managing it and how it relates to discipline, right? And something that I always say is like, I don't think you need to make $1 million a year, which is like an exaggeration, of course, but I don't think you need to make necessarily a lot of money to have a good financial life. And I don't think young people have that in their mind. Young people, I'm 22, so when I say young people, I mean people that fall into my age bracket, right? We tend to think that the only way to get rich is, like I said, to make a lot of money. And I disagree with that. So I want to talk about that today and why I think discipline is the real cheat code, right? So, of course, like I just said, or I didn't just say that, but the first point that I want to start with here is that money does not last without discipline, right? So again, I don't think it's about how much you make. It's not about how much you make. You can be somebody who works a regular job. Like, let's just say, for example, you work at McDonald's, you make $15 an hour or something like that. If you are somebody who just learns how to manage your money extremely well, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Of course, the more income you have, the easier it is to manage and have and save your money more, But if you're able to learn good financial principles and stick to a budget and do the right thing as it relates to your money, you're going to be able to save money much more than somebody who even makes more than you, but they don't have the same habits, right? So that's why I think this is the number one point. Money does not last without discipline. Without discipline, you'll blow all your money constantly chasing stuff, and you'll never really start to focus on prosperity, I guess, beyond material goods, right? Like, I guess every time I'm talking about this whole money problem, it's a matter of like thinking about money beyond what can money like get you, right? Because I think as young people, we have consumer mentality. That's what I always say. So we're just worried about what can I get with my money? Like, what can I get like satisfaction wise? What can I buy, etc. But, the rich people of the world, the people who control the economy, whatever you want to say, they understand money is like bigger than that. It's like a tool that you have to use to really create wealth for your family, control on any level, right? So without discipline on an individual level as it relates to your money, you're going to never be able to even start to think about money beyond like I said, the basic consumer level. The people who are rich, like let's just use the Elon Musks and the Donald Trumps of the world, right? Because like those are two pretty popular people. I doubt they think about money how the average person thinks about money, right? And of course that might like sound cliche to say, like I don't really have to say that, that's a given. But the point is that the people who are controlling this stuff, the people who are the ultra rich, bro, they understand that money is like a game, and they don't operate on the same standards, right? And they have a certain level of discipline. Now, of course, they don't have to live by the rules that the average person lives by, but that might even drive my point home even more, actually, because that requires more discipline. If you're somebody who actually has to like live by the rules of the game, which is unfair by its nature, the only way to beat that is to maintain a certain level of discipline, because if you don't, you're going to be somebody who is easily trapped, right? So first step to wealth is controlling yourself, not your income. Do not think that, like I said in the very beginning, that the only way to get wealthy is to make a lot of money. It's not the case. Said most people cannot stay focused financially. That leads me into my second point here. So point 2, materialism and consumerism destroy your discipline. So I was sort of hinting on that in the last point, but it relates to the first one because without discipline, like I said, you're never really going to be able to start to think beyond the basic level when it comes to money. If you're young watching this, you're gonna probably end up making poor financial decisions that will cost you like a long time if you ever can recover from them, right? You're gonna have debt, etc. So I say materialism and consumerism destroys your discipline, or it hinders it. I don't want to say completely destroys, but these two things play a huge factor as to why people nowadays struggle with discipline, right? You care too much about flexing and not your future. You chase cars, vacations, and other material goods, and this keeps you mentally weak and undisciplined. So this is, I guess, somewhat relating or more targeted at my young men watching this video because, like I always talk about it again, I think young men in particular, we have like a need for like recognition in the world, which is like natural. But in this society that we live in, it's so easy for you to get that recognition from like buying things like jewelry, nice clothing, etc. And I always want to say, like, it's not wrong to want or to have those things, but you have to be smart with how you go about acquiring those things. You know, you don't want to be somebody who was going broke in the club trying to flex. You buying bottles, trying to turn up everybody, and then you wake up the next morning, like you looking at your bank account, you start regretting that. Like, you don't want to be those types of people. And like, it's a huge problem nowadays with social media. Like, I'm sure you could say this throughout history. Like, human beings have always wanted things, I'm sure, right? Like, it's natural to want stuff. But social media, like, you literally are crammed with products all day. If you watch like sports, TV, YouTube, anything, if you watch stuff, you're gonna see commercials. You go outside, you're gonna see billboards. And then nowadays, it's a lot of nice stuff. Like, we can't even act like we don't live in like one of the most prosperous points in history. We have so many things accessible to us. We have phones, iPads, like I don't even know, like you could just buy some random stuff that you didn't even, 100 years ago, our ancestors wouldn't even have probably known about all this materialistic stuff that we now consume, right? And if you don't recognize that, I mean, not even recognize that, if you just don't be careful with what you buy and manage your materialistic wants, you're gonna fall into the trap of lacking discipline as it relates to your money. Keep in mind, this discipline is financial discipline, right? So that's what I mean with that. And the system is designed this way. Like, the entire financial system that I'm always talking about. So like the credit card companies, the banks, colleges, just everybody, like everybody recognizes this, right? And that's how the entire materialistic consumer-based economy operates, because everybody wants to buy stuff. So that's how it's able to operate, of course. But the system knows this. And if you're somebody who is undisciplined as a result of falling into this materialistic trap, I think you're going to be somebody who, like I say all the time, is constantly broke. You're going to be the person who has car loans. You're going to have debt up to your ears. You're going to be like 35 years old, working a job that you really do not like because you have no other option to get a different job because your money situation is not the best. So you probably can't afford to move. You know, I know we all know somebody like this, right? Like, they just make poor financial decisions, right? You're undisciplined. Undisciplined people, when it comes to their money, they lose. And I feel like that's a very simple statement to say, but sadly, in our society, what I'm starting to realize as I, become a full-grown adult, as I start to like make my own money nowadays, I guess, like, people really don't make the best decisions when it comes to their money, right? And it sort of pains me because as somebody who, I guess, like, I didn't come from the strongest financial background. Like, my family was not rich by any means. I see like people around me who are starting to fall into these types of traps, right? And young people in general, like, we just are so caught up in money in terms of just getting it. We don't ever start to learn how money really works. And the system knows this. And that's what I say here. I said the banks, money lenders, car dealerships, colleges, advertisements, blah, blah, blah. All of these, they know how to manipulate and take advantage of the undisciplined consumer. So you're going to borrow too much money, overspend, stay broke. And that's what most people do. And it's not even just young people. This is the point when you're like older. This is like the 40-year-olds that you see, the 50-year-olds that have like $30,000, $40,000 in credit card debt, student loans from 30 years ago that they've never paid off because they just simply do not make enough money to do so. Like, the decisions you make as a young person truly do, your financial decisions, they truly do impact you, like, for your entire life. And that's why I'm so adamant about like trying to drill down these points for us young people so that we can hopefully avoid making these decisions and having discipline. You need to have discipline, right? So last point here relates to how I said they take advantage of us, the financial system. And I guess the final thing relating to the discipline, to wrap it all up, is the message to you guys: do not be lazy, okay? Because I say here, laziness allows the system to win. So everybody that I just talked about, the banks, the money lenders, the dealerships, all of these institutions, right? Whatever you want to call them, they operate to make money, right? They want to make profit, whatever they're doing, right? So they rely on customers who probably are not going to make the best decisions to make profit, right? So I guess laziness is a broad term to use for this, but just in general, especially if you're a young person, if you don't ever take the time to like learn about how the money system works, to learn how to budget, to even just not even just learning about money itself, improving your financial like situation, like getting more skills, getting education, like getting a better job, getting your income up, you will probably be somebody who the system continuously takes advantage of. And I do not want that for you guys. So I said here, lazy people stay stuck in the same spot and broke because they allowed to sit. Excuse me, let me start over. Lazy people stay stuck in the same spot and broke because they've allowed the system to make them comfortable. You think you're well off because you can spend money on nice things, right? And that pretty much like summarizes all of these points here as it relates to materialism, money without discipline, blah, blah, blah. Without discipline, as it relates to your money, you're gonna lose. The game is rigged for us to lose. And that's what I need you guys to understand. The game, if you're a young person especially, the game is not rigged for us to win. The average person will lose because they do not understand basic principles about like just debt, getting caught up in money traps, etc. Right? And if you just understand these principles from a very young age and just start to have discipline as it relates to your money, I bet you will be well off. I hope. That's what I want for all of us, right? So, final sentence I'll say, don't allow material goods and a somewhat comfortable life to prevent you from building discipline and creating the life that you want. All right? Keep that in mind, guys. If you watch this video all the way to the end, I appreciate it. And as always, this has been your boy Brandon Davis. I'm out.